this drink is. Right. So the Chinese introduced the tea to India and the British were, what to say, addicted to this tea. British came to India. Why did they come to India? What was their major purpose? To do business with us. So they did business, they dealt in certain what you call commodities. So what were the major commodities? If you ask a history teacher, he might be able to tell you. Cash crops like cotton, coffee, tea, indigo, opium. Opium is a drug. They even dealt in opium. So they made huge profit by dealing in these commodities. Before the arrival of the British, India's gross domestic product annual income was 17%. But when they left India, they just left it at 7%. Okay, from this you can understand how much they looted from here. Right, that is a different topic. I don't want to get into that. Now, in India, there are certain places where tea is cultivated. Can you remember any place where tea is cultivated in India? The moment I speak of tea, the name that comes to our mind is Assam. But there is one more place. Yes, Darjeeling is a beautiful hill station which is known for the cultivation of high quality tea. And Assam produces the largest quantity of tea, the difference. So when you speak about the largest quantity of tea, we have 799 tea estates in Assam alone. 799 tea estates. But why only in Assam? Have you ever thought of that? We have the major tea producing estates in Assam. Darjeeling comes after that. But why? Yeah, somebody can tell me? We can have tea gardens here in Godda, or you can have it somewhere else in Mumbai or some other cities or some other places. But why only in Assam? Sorry? Exactly. The topography, she used the right word. The topography of the land and the rainfall that the land receives and the humidity that the land receives. So, for cultivating tea, you need a certain kind of climatic condition. What do you need? Climatic condition is required. For cotton, in geography you learn, right? Crops in India. So, for cotton, the soil has to be black. Yes. And for the cultivation of paddy and groundnuts, a separate kind of soil and a separate climate is required. So, Assam is favorable for the cultivation of tea because it receives 250 millimeters of rain annually. How many millimeters of rain? 250 millimeters, which is quite sufficient for the cultivation of tea, and the temperature is 36 degrees Celsius, which is quite humid. So for the cultivation of tea, you need humidity and a heavy rainfall. Okay, so these two are available in Assam, and the soil again is, what to say, is conducive. That is the word, conducive. The soil is helpful for the cultivation of tea, and that is why Assam tops, okay, in the production of tea. It comes only next to China. China is the greatest tea producing nation, but Assam comes after that. You know, I was talking about the British. The British, they were fascinated by this drink, the stimulating drink, and they set up all tea gardens, okay, in different places of India, and most of the tea estates owned by the British, they were in Assam. For coffee, it is Karnataka. So, all these tea estates, before the independence of India, were controlled or owned by the Britishers. And the Indians, okay, they acted as brokers to supply laborers for the British. These pieces of information are not in the book. But before we get into the lesson, I am giving you the background information so that you can understand how this tea is produced and the story behind the production of this tea. You know, I'll tell you a very sad thing today. People from Jharkhand, people from Odisha, people from West Bengal, okay, people from Madhya Pradesh were taken as laborers to work in the tea estates owned by the British. And you know what these British did? They looted our wealth, but they looted the lives of people as well. As soon as the laborers as soon as they reached these tea estates, the first thing the British used to do was, they used a kind of pincers, you know pincers, okay, pliers, you know, you use pliers for cutting the wires and all that. So they used the pliers in order to kind of cut off the nerve which was found in the ankle of the laborers, so that the laborers may not run away from the estate. You can imagine how painful it must have been. So we enjoy a cup of drink, but you must know the story and the struggle and the blood that is involved in manufacturing this tea. So the Britishers kind of cut off the nerves, okay, in the ankle of those innocent laborers so that they may not run away from the estates. So I don't want to get into that topic because it's a very sad part. Many films have been made about this. Many books were written about this by different authors. We won't get into that. Our focus is only on tea, okay. So these Indians, they worked as brokers and they supplied a huge amount of laborers to the Britishers, and the laborers spent their entire life working in the tea gardens, and the generations continued. Father worked as a laborer in the tea estate, then after that the son, then the grandson, and many generations they worked in the tea estates when the British were ruling India. There were many books written about this. Mulk Raj Anand is a famous writer who wrote a novel, 2 Leaves and a Bud. That book is not available now. It is out of print. The British banned that book. You know why they banned it? Because he explained all the atrocities and unjust practices, okay, related to the laborers there. The Britishers misbehaved with the laborers. Okay, the Britishers misbehaved with the girls, young girls who were working there in the tea estates. A very sad story. Okay, now coming back, Assam, as I told you, is favorable for the cultivation of tea. Assam is not only a kind of land for tea, but it is also kind of, what to say, a place for the rhino. That is the only place, only state in India where you find rhinos. Okay, one-horned rhinos. Even that community, that species is coming to an extinct because it has a beautiful horn, and poaching continues in Assam. Illegal poaching, corruption. So the horn is actually cut off from the rhino and it is exported to Chinese markets because it is believed to have some kind of medicinal properties. Okay, and then you have the Bihu dance. So Assam is known for all these things. And one more important information about Assam is it has the largest river island in the world, which goes by the name Majuli. You ask a history teacher, geography teacher. Assam is the only state which has the largest river island in the world, and that is known by the name Majuli. So if you have a chance of kind of going to Assam, you can see all these things. Right. Now, where do you find the tea gardens in Assam? Not every part of Assam is filled with tea gardens. Only certain locations in Assam are filled with these tea gardens. Which are the locations? The upper part of Assam. The upper part of Assam is full of tea gardens. Why? Because the upper part of Assam has the most fertile soil and the most conducive climate and adequate rainfall. 250 mm of rainfall, 36 degrees Celsius temperature, and a fertile soil which contribute to the cultivation of tea in Assam. So the upper parts of Assam, like Shivsagar, it's a beautiful district. Nagaon, this is also a district. Then Udalguri, occupied by the laborers, okay. And then Kokrajhar. If you go to these areas, especially to these two places, Kokrajhar and Udalguri, you will find a lot of laborers. We call them as Adivasis. You see, we have some Talis here. They are the Adivasi community. In the same manner, if you go to these places in Assam, especially this one, Kokrajhar and Udalguri, you will find lots of laborers. All these laborers, they had migrated from states like Jharkhand and Odisha and West Bengal years ago. So 3-4 generations of them are still, the 4th generation or the 5th generation is still there. They are still working as laborers in the tea plantations. Okay, so I think I gave you a kind of background information. Now, the kinds of tea, I would like to mention a word about that. Kinds of tea. The moment I speak of tea, you will understand the tea that we drink. But there are grades of tea. There are varieties. Assam is known for a special kind of black tea. What tea? A special kind of black tea. And this black tea can be produced only in Assam. Because as I told you, the climatic condition is favorable to produce this particular type of tea, which is known by the name black tea. Clear? I hope you are with me. Clear so far? Right. So, this black tea is again graded. So, the kind of tea that we consume may not be the best quality. It may not be the best quality. Because once the tea is prepared, you have dust tea and leaf tea. There are two kinds of, two kinds of teas you can say. One is the dust tea. What do you mean by the dust tea? The last quality. It's almost like dust. That is the last quality of tea, and Indians consume that dust tea. And the quality before the dust tea is the granules. Granules. Granules in the sense they are small, they are, they appear in the shape of granules, small balls. Okay, so that particular tea is costlier. Dust tea is the last quality, and the tea in the form of granules is a better quality, and leaf tea is the most expensive. Because the tea leaves, okay, they are plucked at the right season. For example, in the month of July, the month of August, okay, the small leaves, the young leaves, tender leaves are plucked. And after that, they are dried. And they are not fed into the machine. They don't go into the machine. They are nature dried, and after that they roll the leaves, they are rolled actually. And after that they go into the market, and that leaf tea seems to be very costly. So it will cost you some 600, 700, 800, 1000 rupees, okay. And there are kind of teas which cost nearly 10,000 rupees per kg. So they are export qualities. Those qualities of tea, those qualities are not available for the common man. So what we consume is the third quality and the fourth quality. The second quality and the first quality, okay. The best quality is definitely not for us to taste, but they are exported. They are exported to different countries like the UK and all that. Okay, you see the Queen Elizabeth, the Queen of England, she gets tea to her kitchen, and that is definitely the first rate tea which is exported from China, from Sri Lanka and from India. The best quality tea, which will cost you some 20,000, 25,000 or even 30,000 per kg. So only the royal people have the privilege to enjoy such kind of quality. Okay, so dust tea is clear. It's almost like dust. Then you have granules, tea in the shape of granules, and then finally you have the leaf tea, which seems to be the costliest one, and then you have green tea, that is another one. Green tea is also a kind of leaf. Okay, the tea leaves, they are processed and they are packed. Supposing if you go to a mall, you'll find this green tea in different brands. Okay, so sometimes I take this green tea bags are there. So the green tea has a kind of special flavor and it promotes digestion and reduces fat. So those who suffer from diabetes, okay, and high cholesterol, they go for this green tea. This green tea is also manufactured in Assam, okay, and there is one more kind of state which has a beautiful tea estate or many beautiful tea estates, that is Kerala, okay. Kerala, if you go to a place called Munnar, this is a place, you will find nothing but tea estates. Beautiful. I mean, it's a tourist destination. And tea is available in the shops, you can kind of buy, okay. So whenever you get some time to pay a visit to Kerala, make sure that you visit this place. Throughout the year, the climate is cool, you have lots of clouds passing through, and there is a drizzle all the time, okay. Elephants, okay, and the evergreen forest, and the tea estate. It's a breathtaking sight. Alright. Now, so much for tea, right? But remember, tea originated from China. And the Chinese consume the maximum quantity of tea. And Sri Lankan tea. Sri Lanka also produces some good quality tea. That particular tea which is produced in Sri Lanka is again exported to different countries. Of course, the third or the fourth quality comes into the market. Okay. Now, in this particular lesson, what is the topic of the lesson? I mean, it's a passage, not a lesson. It comes under one lesson. What is the topic? Tea Gardens of Assam. Tea from Assam. That is the title. So, if you read this passage very carefully, you will understand two students traveling in a train. Two students traveling in a train. The name of one student is Pranjal. Okay, Pranjal. Pranjal. Number one. Another student's name is Rajveer. Okay, Pranjal is one, Rajveer is another. Pranjal is from Assam. And Rajveer, I believe, is from another part of India, probably from Delhi. Okay, so both of them travel in a train for vacation. Pranjal has invited Rajveer. Okay, and therefore what happened? Rajveer is being taken to the hometown of Pranjal, which is in Assam. And Rajveer's father is waiting to receive them at the station. So as they are traveling in a train, a conversation begins. They strike a conversation. So what is the conversation? The chaiwala comes. The train pulls into the station. Diwali. Pulls in. What is the meaning of pulls in? It's a phrasal verb. Pulls in means it arrives at a particular station. Train stops. So it is a very common sight in Indian railway stations to see chaiwalas. The moment the train stops, chai, chai, garam chai. Have you heard that sound? That's a sweet sound. For me especially. Because the moment I hear the word chai, my heart goes to that chaiwala. Early morning 5:30. Because I am used to traveling now. So I have to travel for 2 days, 3 days in a train. So every time the train pulls in at the station, I look forward for the coffee walas and chai walas, especially the chai walas. And I don't drink all kinds of tea, I go only for the best tea. So that chai wala comes. Then Pranjal buys a cup of tea for his friend Rajvi and for himself as well. And from there, the topic shifts to chai. Okay, and then Pranjal gives a beautiful description. Maybe one of you can stand up and read the first paragraph. Please read, anyone. One who has the text. The first paragraph. Yes, you can start. Who's that girl? Sharon. Just read the first paragraph. We'll get into the lesson.
A vendor called out in a high-pitched voice.
Okay.
Came up to their window and asked, "Chai, sir, give us 2 cups." Pranjal said, They sipped the steam hot liquid. Almost everyone in their compartment was drinking tea too. Do you know over 80 crores of
cups
are drunk every day throughout the world? Rajveer said. You exclaimed Pranjal. He really is very popular.
Sit down. So, as I told you, the lesson begins with Pranjal and Rajveer traveling in the train, and as soon as the train pulls in, the chaiwala is ready to offer them, is willing to offer them garam chai or hot tea. And both of them, they enjoy the tea, the cups of tea, and that is when this fellow says, I think Rajveer makes that comment, 80 crores of cups of tea are consumed on a single day. So that is a mind-boggling fact, isn't it? 80 crores of cups being consumed. Okay. And someone can read the second paragraph. Second paragraph. It's a very short one, I think. Come on, start. Class 10. You're not ready to read. Yeah, come on, fast. Let me finish. I'm going to wind up.
The train pulled out of station.
Pulled out. See the phrasal verb. When you're kind of reading a lesson, pay attention to all the phrasal verbs which are being used. Pulled in and pulled out. So what is the meaning of pulling in? Arriving. And pulling out? Clearing off the station. Yeah, faster.
Pranjal buried his nose in his dictative book again. Rajiv too was an ardent fan of adaptive stories.
Ardent. That is one word. If you have a pen or a pencil, just underline that word. Ardent follower. Ardent means, you can say, a strong. Strong. Ardent actually means strong. Ardent reader. What is the meaning? A strong reader. One who is habituated to reading books. Or who is addicted, you can say. Yeah, continue.
But at the moment he was nicked on, looking at the beautiful scenery, it was green everywhere.
Okay.
Rajveer had never seen so much greenery before.
Okay.
Then the soft green paddy field gave way to tea bushes.
Right. Now, the train passes through the estates. I mean the landscape of Assam, and as I told you, on both sides of the rail track, Rajveer and Pranjal are able to see tea gardens, okay, stretching as far as the eye could see, okay, thousands and thousands of kilometers, hundreds and hundreds of kilometers, okay. So as I told you, 789, yes?
799.
790 estates are found in Assam. So the moment the train enters the state of Assam, you will be able to find, especially if you go towards the upper Assam area, on both sides of the rail track you will find tea estates stretching as far as your eye could see. Right? So with this we stop here. Tomorrow we will continue, okay, with the same lesson. And once I finish with Assam, I will switch over to another topic, that is Kodagu. Okay, that's a place in Karnataka. We'll have a discussion on that.